Hi everyone, my name is Refilo Machale and I'm the director at Startup Grand Bloemfontein. Our speaker for the month of May is Lebo. But before we start off with our fireside chat, I would just like to read a bit of her bio just so that everybody's aware who she is and about everything else that she does, just so that we're basically on the same page. So, like I said, our speaker is Lebo. So Lebo is the voice of marketing in South Africa. She's a speaker, podcast host, social media strategist, SMME growth strategist, as well as an entrepreneur. She has worked with brands such as Flying Fish, Telkom, Facebook, and many others. She has also written for publications such as GQ Magazine, Glamour Magazine, City Press, and many others. She is named one of the 40 under 40 African business icons of 2020. So, yeah, that is our speaker. Let us jump straight into our fireside chat.
Lose a job, so many terrible things can happen. So never ever rest on your degree. You still have to hustle no matter what you have. Whether you have a degree, you don't have to have a degree, always hustle. And then after university, and in varsity I was a hustler. So I was that girl who would sell t-shirts during a week, and if there was any kind of entrepreneurial opportunity, I was there. I would have a stand and I'd be selling to people because I thought that I was an entrepreneur, and I was like, I want to learn how to sell. So I was always there trying to do those things. And eventually when I left university, I started a tech company with a friend of mine. And with this tech company, I think I was 24 years old. We started this tech company, and we had tablets, and we created apps for children who are in rural areas and in townships. And the apps taught them mathematics and English, right? And at the time, we started it because we were just these little opportunists who wanted to be entrepreneurs. And the government was building all these cell phone towers, and they were trying to get a mandate out for paperless learning in classrooms in those areas. We're like, okay, let's be the company that provides these things that the government is looking for. And obviously that is a lot of capital expenditure. So what we did is we sold weaves. We had this big weave business. And at the time, people like Kanye Bao and them, it wasn't popular for them to be on Instagram or whatever, showcasing their hair. So for us, it was a new market, and we're already selling to those kinds of people. And we're giving them free hair before it was a thing on Instagram to have those kinds of influencers doing that kind of thing. And so we made a lot of money, and it allowed us to open offices in Rivonia. Rivonia is a very popular, very expensive suburb in Joburg. And at the age of 24, we were there with 10 employees, and we were trying to design apps, and we were having meetings with all these people about like R1 million contracts and things like that. And we really didn't know what we were doing, but we learned so much doing that. My background has been heavily rooted in learning and experimenting and just being vocal. Whenever I don't agree with something, I tell people. Whenever I want to try something, I just take the leap of faith. I never just, say, oh my gosh, I need to be 30 years old to be able to do this. I was always like, no, I can do it now. If I feel like I can, I'm going to do it. And I think that's something that a lot of young people tend to undermine in themselves. They look at themselves and they're like, okay, I'm 20 years old, so I can't achieve X, Y, Z. But guys, like, nobody cares how old you are. When I was sitting in those rooms with the 35-year-olds who had millions of rands, and they could see that I was this little company, they didn't care. They still treated me like a normal competitor. So your age has nothing to do with anything. You just have to try and do whatever you want to do. And in fact, the younger you are when you do these things, the more likely you are to succeed, because you've got more time to make mistakes. You've got more time to learn things, and people don't mind. I mean, if you've got a tech company at 22 and you fail, your parents don't mind if you come home, if you fail. But it's different when you're 40 years old and then you fail and you want to go back home. So I always say, when you're young, do it then. Do it when you're young. Try everything that's stupid. Any idea that comes to your mind, if you're like, actually, I think I can do this thing, just do it. You never ever know where it will take you. Yeah, I think I went on for days there.
You did, but it was all worth it. It was all worth it. Thank you very much, Lebo.
Yeah.
So anyway, you sort of covered what I wanted to ask you initially, but I just wanted to know what basically influenced the move towards marketing, because it sounds like you're someone who's very grounded in philosophy or social issues. So what basically influenced the marketing move, or what influenced it? And on top of that, we know that you are a co-founder of a company called People. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly. So we just, okay. Can you also tell us about a bit about what People does and what services does it offer to the community? Just take us through your journey of People and what influenced the move towards marketing as socially conscious as you are.
So, that's actually a very interesting question. The way you put it is quite interesting. But I always say to people that marketers are great thinkers. So a person who's qualified, ready to be a marketer, would be somebody who is a great thinker, somebody who interrogates things, somebody who's not always satisfied with the way things are and wants to improve them or wants to add something new. And that's the kind of person I am. I can't sit still. Every time, it doesn't matter if I'm in a meeting, doesn't matter if I'm at the mall, there's always something I feel like needs to be fixed, And it's not because I've got a negative mindset, it's just because I've got an efficiency mindset. That's how I'm built. So, and that's what marketers do. We are like efficiency doctors. That's what we do. We look at problems or we look at situations and we say, how can you make this thing better? And so by virtue of that definition, even, then a marketer should be somebody who has some kind of social consciousness, because anything that you improve helps people. It improves people's lives. You know what I mean? So you can't actually be a marketer without having some kind of social consciousness or some kind of social drive that makes you want to help people in some kind of way. So, for example, I'm not somebody who's heavily involved in charities, for example. I believe that if I focus a lot of my money and my attention into technology, I believe that creating those technologies and putting them in communities that need them will allow those communities to achieve more things than if I just gave bread to a charity or gave food parcels to a charity. So I think we all improve the world in our own ways. And for me, it's through marketing, it's through identifying situations and finding better ways to make it better, ways to make it more efficient, ways to make it easier for people to use. So I think marketers are people who are great thinkers. And by virtue of that, we are just naturally inclined to making life better for other people. A great example of this is by one of my favorite marketers and economists in the world. His name is Rory Sutherland, and he's the CMO of Ogilvy UK. And Ogilvy is an advertising firm, one of the biggest, probably the biggest in the world. And he talks about how the world completely undervalues marketers, and they're actually the lifeblood of any business, if you really, really think about it. And he makes this really great example about a train. So he was working with one of these train companies in the UK, and they were having issues because people were complaining that the train ride is too long, And so they were trying to find ways to make the train ride quicker. And they were talking to engineers, and they were trying to find ways to make the trains quicker. And then a couple of marketers came through and said, but guys, you don't need to make the train quicker. You just have to make the train ride more enjoyable so people don't notice the time that goes by. And that's what marketers do. So instead of me saying, make the train quicker, I would say, add Wi-Fi to the train so that people can do their work whilst they're on the train. Then it doesn't feel like such a waste of time when they're on the train. You get what I'm trying to say? That's what marketers do. And I think a lot of people confuse marketers with like advertising people or graphic designers or PR people. We don't do that. I know as a marketer, I do a lot of social media work because I believe in those technologies. But a lot of what I'm passionate about and what I do for corporates is strategy and efficiency strategies. That's what I do. I sit and I look at spreadsheets. I look at the entire company and I go, this is where you guys are doing things wrong or where you're doing things inefficiently. And if you fix this and if you amend that, you'll be able to make more money. You'll be able to reach your customers. You'll be able to make more sales. That's what marketers do. That's what we're taught. That's why we learn those 6 P's of marketing. Because if you understand pricing strategies, you'll be able to understand, okay, maybe people in Hammanskraal aren't buying the soap because it says R7.98 instead of R7.99. That's literally the difference. That can be a 50% sales difference. You know what I mean? It's literally like that. That's what marketers are for. We are not advertisers. I don't create campaigns that you see on television. That's not what we do. And so because people don't understand what we do, then they don't even understand how smart you need to be a marketer, how you need to think as a marketer and the kind of value you add to any space that you enter as a marketer. So for me, I think it's just, I've literally always been that kind of child. I can't explain it. I've always been the kind of person who just interrogates things and says, okay, I want to change this. I want, even for myself, you know, I'll literally like change my outfit 10 times because I'll say, if I wear a red top, how will these people perceive me? Will this crowd like what I have to say? Am I going to have a controversial conversation today? Okay, then maybe not red. Maybe I'll wear blue. Okay, no, maybe blue's a bit too masculine because the crowd has a lot of this. So let me wear pink. Because people always like a lady who wears pink, and the more feminine you look, the nicer people think you are, so the nicer they are to you. It sounds silly, but that actually, it's true. The psychology of that is true, you know? So you have to be aware of your surroundings and yourself as a marketer. And as a kid, I used to read a lot of business magazines because my dad would be like, I read these things. So I saw this one article, and it was about a guy called Tebe Kalafik. I'm so bad with these names. Sorry. Tebe Ikalafeng. And Tebe, sorry guys, don't judge me. But Tebe Ikalafeng, he's one of the, most prolific marketers in South Africa right now. He's had a really successful, long career. And at the time, 20 years ago, whenever I was reading that article, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what this guy does, but it looks so cool. And Tebe's thing is all about the African continent. So he's all about bringing European brands, American brands here, changing how they work here, that kind of thing. So I was like, actually, this is very cool. This sounds like something I could do. Sounds like something I'm about. So I was like, okay, cool. That planted the seed in my head. And then in all the entrepreneurial ventures that I did after that, so, you know, from selling cakes in high school to selling t-shirts in varsity, I realized that the things I was the best at were the marketing things. That you know, just where do we put our t-shirts? Where on the university campus must we put our table so people can buy more from us? I was the girl who was good at that. You know, I would be able to make us get more sales because I'd be like, no, guys, actually, this is the wrong time. We're not selling at the right time. We're not selling in the right area. No, our t-shirts are not the right color for this. Like, I was that girl. So I was like, okay, actually, this is marketing. And that's what made me fall in love with marketing. I think I was born a marketer, and I've just always been seeking it in my life. And then in terms of people, that's another story. People SA is an agency that I've co-founded with my business partner, and he is a PR professional. I'd like to argue that he's one of the best PR professionals in South Africa. He's really incredible, and we decided to start an agency that would merge the relationship between brands and people, and hence the name People. So People actually stands for brands and people. And the whole point of our agency was to change the narrative that corporates have about the African consumer. So a lot of the time in marketing, and I'm sure you guys have seen in adverts, in like print magazine ads and that kind of thing, they'll always make it seem like there's one African customer or two African customers actually, the poor one and the rich one. It's like there's only two of us. And so you must only make comms for those two people, the rich black person and the poor black person. And it doesn't make sense at all, because when you look at Caucasian people and how they segment the Caucasian audience, there's so many different kinds of segments, because they literally become so granular about it. They'll be like, there's a white guy who likes to surf and he lives by the sea and he likes cats. Then there's a white guy who likes to surf and he lives by the sea and he likes dogs. And they'll literally create strategies just based on those kinds of granular differences. So it doesn't make sense to me that when it comes to the African customer, all of a sudden, we're not that complicated as people. We're just rich and poor. And you're like, no ways, you know? So that's something that I've always been like, I need to change that. I have to address that. And that's why we started People. And I really was trying to teach corporates about, you know, guys, look at black people, look at how we live, study how we are. Don't just assume we're one thing. And when you speak to us, you know, be considerate in your comms. Speak to us in a way that makes sense to us. Hire people who know how to speak to us. Create products that we actually want. Don't just give us what you think we need. Because that's also another gripe I have with the South African market. It seems like, you know, when you learn economics in university or even accounting, they'll always say there's like supply and demand, and, you know, companies create businesses because they want to address the demand in the market, right? So basically they're saying supply is driven by demand most of the time. That's what they're saying, unless you're talking about things like electricity, etc., monopolies, whatever. But in just the basic commercial market, demand drives supply. But then when you look at South Africa, what you see is that it's almost as if supply drives demand. So the suppliers get to say, we are going to give you Bull Brand and pilchards. And because that's the only thing in the market, you're going to eat it, you know? And then they base all of the information about the South African market on that weird perception that because they've decided to only give us Bull Brand and pilchards, that Black people only like Bull Brand and pilchards. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So it's a weird way of, like, even of economics, it's a very strange way of navigating through the market. And our business is trying to show corporates that, guys, the way that you're navigating is incorrect, you know? Maybe if you ask Black people what they want, they might be able to tell you. And then maybe instead of you guys saying that people don't want to buy, you can say, actually, maybe we've been offering the wrong products. You know, in South Africa and on the African continent, because I've worked with quite a few companies in Nigeria and Ghana and that kind of thing, there's a tendency for people to judge the audience. So companies will like offer, I don't know, a cold drink, let's say. Then people don't buy the cold drink. And then what companies will say is, people are so broke that they can't even afford our cold drink. You know, they make weird statements like that, or they'll open an online store and then they'll say, African people are so silly, they don't know how to use the online space, so they're not buying our products online, you know? And you're like, but how do you blame your customer for your own inefficiencies? At some point as the business, you have to take responsibility for the fact that people aren't buying because you're not selling well. It's got absolutely nothing to do with the customer being stupid, the race of the customer, the gender of the customer. It's all about you as the business and how you've completely ignored your customer and you've tried to decide and guess who they are, you know. And I don't think enough of us talk about that, the fact that our market is not a true depiction of what's really out there in terms of the African customer and the opportunities that exist for African businesses.
I'm happy that there's someone who shares the same sentiment with me. I just saw that someone down there wrote that it feels like we are reading some data analysis or something. They've just given us a lot of insight when it comes to the marketing.
Yeah.
And from what I can pick up from you is that you're all about strategy. You're just about strategy. And I'm seeing that you have a very colorful entrepreneurial journey. So, in that person, looks background.
Wait, hello? Are you asking? I'm not sure if I'm hearing you or not.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm saying that I can see that you're about strategy in most cases, and I'm seeing that you've founded a lot of companies and you've been part of a couple of projects. And I know that it's not always all rosy when it comes to business. So just tell us a bit about the fails, the days whereby you cried and felt like you just want to go and look for a job. The days whereby you just felt like you are done for.
You really want to hear me cry? You want to hear me talk about crying? Ooh, Lord.
I'd like to know what
the one thing I hate to do. Okay, yes, that's a tricky one. I will say this. If you are an African person, it doesn't matter if you're in a corporate, it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur, there are going to be a whole lot of times when the system is just not fair to you. Yes, we must all work hard. Yes, you know, you can achieve anything that you put your mind to, but let's also be honest that the system isn't always fair to us, even when we do put in the right amount of effort and we do the right things. And I wish more people would say that to African entrepreneurs and professionals, so that when we do go into the workplace, we have a more realistic perception of, you know, how the game is played and what the landscape looks like, so that we're not so heartbroken when we do a lot of work and we do great work and nobody recognizes it, you know, and that maybe we realize that just doing good work is not enough because no one's just going to recognize it because it comes from people who look like us. And maybe we need to be more strategic in how we showcase the good work that we do because we look like this. You know, I wish more people would talk about that, because I think more of us would be less depressed a lot of the time when we face challenges, you know. I can say, you know, unapologetically that a lot of the challenges I faced, I believe, come from the fact that I underestimated the idea that I would have to do more than a Caucasian person to get the same rewards, you know. And it's very sad that that's the system that we're living in. because it discounts and it excludes so many talented people, so many great ideas. It excludes it just because of politics and all these weird things. And I mean, even a couple of celebrities that I know, a couple that I've worked with who are really big, you'd be surprised, also have faced those challenges in their greatness, you know, have faced those kinds of just working with brands who don't want to pay them because of their race or whatever, you know. So it's quite a challenging one, and I wish people would say to Black people, hey guys, when you enter corporate or the entrepreneurial space, just remember that you're Black, so you need to be creative in how you offer things. You need to be creative in how you enter rooms. You need to be creative in how you do things so that people can listen to you. You know, it's not all doom and gloom. Yeah, they'll judge you because of certain things, maybe your gender, your race. But if you do things the right way, if you're creative enough and you're bold enough, you'll be heard. Somebody's going to hear you. And that's what's important. But if I'm going to talk about the things that, yes, this almost made me cry, made me want to give up. When we had the tech company, I was the only girl in the team, and I entered the team. So it was 2 guys, and I entered the team after they had purchased the tablets. So they had these tablets and they had these connects in China, and they didn't know what to do with these tablets. So I was like, hey guys, you know what? I just finished doing this project. I need something to do. Let me be a partner in this business with you guys, and I'll help you make these tablets have value, you know? So they were like, well, we've tried for 2 years and we never made it anything. So come through. And I actually signed an agreement with them, and I was like, listen, if nothing happens, you don't have to pay me anything, we're good. But if something happens, I own a share, blah, blah, whatever. I made these tablets have value, you know. I mean, I had bank CEOs calling us, I had people in government calling us. And that time, I was just this 24-year-old who did not have connections. I did not know people. So this was literally me hustling, me taking money, you know, my own money, and using it to go to certain events and seeing if I could meet people. Like, I literally hustled the life out of myself just to be able to make this thing work. I made it work. But because I trusted the people I worked with, we didn't actually sign formal contracts that, you know, articulated who owned what, when do we end things, how do things work. And so when we did eventually get money into the business, they got very excited. And I think money changes people. Money, no, that's incorrect, sorry. Money shows you who people are. It shows you someone's real character, right? So I'm not a person who's driven by money. Even now, I'm not going to do something just because you want to pay me a lot of money. I will say no if it doesn't work for me. But some people are, you know, they love money and they'll say yes to anything that has money. So I didn't assess our money culture before I decided to be partners with these people. And so when money did come in, they were, you know, things hit the fan, man. And we couldn't work together anymore. And I had to distance myself from the entire partnership because we just didn't see eye to eye in terms of, okay, now that we have all of this money, what do we do with it? Others wanted to spend it. I wanted to reinvest it into the company, so we eventually had to close down. But it taught me a lot about the value of contracts and the value of just, you know, it doesn't matter what business you do or whatever you enter into. It doesn't matter if you know the people. It doesn't matter if you're friends with them. It doesn't matter if they're your family. Always create contracts. Always. Like, never, ever, 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 ever do something without a contract, because yes, sis, you can lose out on a lot if you don't have a contract. And that experience also taught me about the value of money. You know, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine earlier, and she was saying to me, you know, I'm really impressed by the fact that you have not been heavily influenced by South African business culture. You do things at your own pace, at your own time. You're not chasing 200,000 followers because everybody has it. You're not interviewing celebrities just so you can get a lot of followers. But what you find a lot in the commercial space is that everybody is in a rush. Nobody's patient. Everybody wants things now, you know? And the problem with that is you don't allow yourself to grow into your potential when you rush your growth. You don't allow yourself to grow into yourself when you're rushing your objectives, achieving your objectives. Things come to you when they're supposed to, not when you want them to. And I learned that through so many projects where, you know, people would do things and they were rushing, and I'd be like, no, but guys, this is not the time. We need to wait this out. We need to be more patient with the strategy. We need to, you know, put more skin in the game and be quiet. And they'd want to be loud. And, you know, I don't even know where those people are to this day, you know, because they were so impatient that they lost out on the real opportunities. Whereas I sat back, I said yes to things. I said no to things. I was patient, even when I was like, oh, but I need that money right now. And I'd say, but no, I can't, you know, I need that money right now, but I'm not going to take it because it's not going to help me achieve my future objectives. And I don't think enough of us are willing to starve for our dreams. A lot of us want the best of both. You know, we want the Instagram life, and we want successful businesses, and we want to have big brands. And it's like you have to starve for your dreams. Something has to give. When I come from a very privileged family, my dad did very well for himself in business. So when I got to university, I already had a car. And when I started university, I was studying accounting science, not marketing, because my parents were like, no, you want to do accounting, you'll do accounting. Accounting is great. I was like, oh, I don't think so, but let me try. And then I was like, nah, this is not for me. After a year of accounting, I was like, this is not for me. I want to do this on my own. I'm going to study marketing. My parents were like, okay, if this is what you want to do, then you're going to go out on your own. We're not going to help you. No car, no allowance, no nothing, you know? And I had to learn how to take taxis. I didn't know how to take taxis until that time. But I had to learn. I had to learn how to do a lot of things. I got jobs as a tutor. I got jobs doing many things just to study this thing and I didn't even know if it was going to work for me. I didn't even know if I was going to succeed. My gut just said, this is what you need to do. So I did it. And I starved for it. And a lot of my friends back in the day laughed at me. And they were like, oh my gosh, how can you give up all of this so that you can chase this thing? How do you even know if it's going to work? You're so stupid. Literally, that's what my friends would say to me. They laughed at me. And a lot of them even, you know, they were in corporate, they made money, and they had these fancy cars. And I remember I eventually had enough money to buy a Yaris. So I bought a Yaris. And my friends laughed at my car and they said, oh my gosh, how can you drive a Yaris? I'm thinking, I'm 23. I'm doing well for myself. I can pay for my things. I think this is okay, you know, and they laughed at me. And I'm not friends with those people now. But the whole point is I was willing to starve. I was willing to look like an idiot. I was willing to go through things that I was uncomfortable with to achieve what I wanted. So I don't think enough people are willing to starve for their dreams. They think it must be easy. Like, oh, I have a job in corporate and I will only leave my job when my business is doing well. But like, how does your business do well if you're not putting time into it? You know, you have to be willing to take the risk. So I've had a lot of experiences where I wanted to cry and give up, but I just think I know who I want to be. So after crying, I'd get up and just keep going.
Wow, thank you very much for that mouthful, Lebo. And then now, I just want us to focus on the fact that you've been talking about knowing yourself, branding and brands versus people and all. Right now, since we are in the era of social media, we start hearing a lot of people talking about building their brands. So I just want to, I just want to ask you to help us to demystify the concept of brand. What is it? What does a brand mean? Either both at a personal and at a business level. Just try to help us make sense of the concept of branding or a brand.
Thank you for that question. I think it's a really, really good question because we are living in a digital era. We're living in a social media era. So everybody's lives seem to be transparent, right? And it seems like when somebody has a certain amount of followers, there's this brand because so many people seem to know them. And even though, you know, a brand can be a wonderful thing and it can help you achieve your objectives, I don't think enough people actually know what a brand is. And so a lot of us talk about brands and we talk about building a brand, but like I don't think we actually know what we're talking about when we're saying those things. So I just want to define what a brand is in my opinion before we can go into that. According to the Lebo line definition, a brand is an entity that has right. Yesterday in my GQ interview, I was talking about how so many of us have dormant brands. We have these identities that cannot be brands yet because we're not adding any commercial value to them. We're not attaching its value proposition, so we can't make money from our identities. But for people who can make money from their identity, they become a brand. You know, so if I can get paid from being Lebo Lion and that name is what people are searching for when they want to come and pay me, then I'm a brand, you know. But if they're not searching for my name yet and I do have unique skills that I'm not showing to the market, then I'm a dormant brand. Nobody really knows who I am. I haven't unleashed my potential. So that's what a brand is, an identity that has commercial value and that is leveraging off of its commercial value. And I was even saying yesterday, in the conversation about an IGTV video I did, where I spoke about the difference between a brand and a business. A lot of people think that a brand is a business and a business is a brand, but they're very different things. For example, you know, if you want to talk, have an IG live with somebody and you want to talk about building brands, you can't go to the CEO of Exclusive Books and ask him to talk to you about building brands. He only knows about the business of selling books, not the business of building a brand. Even though Exclusive Books is a good brand, you'd have to talk to somebody else to teach you, you know, how to build a brand. But if you think of somebody like Tipo the Jean Maker, for example, he is a brand. And I know a lot of people don't really know his story and how he came about, but Tipo tweeted, there was this one tweet, I can't remember, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, he tweeted something and it was about jeans. And he said, I'm Tipo the Jean Maker. And that tweet went viral. And he didn't even have one pair of jeans to sell when that tweet went viral. It was just him talking about the fact that he is going to do something. So by virtue of that, he has a brand. That name, people were already placing orders before he had the jeans to sell. You know, he could have put that name on a box of cereal. It would have been fine. It's a brand. People would have bought from it. That name has commercial value. And so you can talk to Tsepo the Jean Maker about building brands because he built a brand, you know. Gugu Intimates. She's spoken a lot. She's a lady who founded a company called Gugu Intimates, and it's basically just a African lingerie line. And she was talking about how she built this brand. You know, she was getting interviews on MTV Base, on Channel O, etc., but she wasn't making any money. You know, and that happens a lot when you build a brand. Yes, a brand has commercial value, and you are supposed to get money for it. But a lot of the time, you know, especially in the beginning of building a brand, you can have a name that people want to buy from, but they don't necessarily buy from it because whatever your value proposition is not something they want to buy. You know, so you can either take that name and put it on something that they find more valuable, or you can amend your sales funnel and sales strategy so that they want to buy exactly what you're selling from them. So that's the difference between a brand and a business. Right. So now that we're living in the social media age, everybody has lots of followers. It's easy to get lots of followers online. Everybody thinks that they're a brand, but that is not the case. And the reason why everyone is obsessed with building brands is because brands give you a foot into the door, right? They basically like a red carpet. If you want to approach corporates, if you want to work with someone, especially if you're an entrepreneur, then you want to have a brand, because once you get into those rooms, people know who you are and it makes the whole conversation much easier. I say to people that the reason why I started the Lebo brand is because I was having difficulty entering boardrooms and talking strategy as a young Black person. They were looking at me like, who the hell are you? Like, babes, you're so young, and also what is it, who are you, you know? So I was like, actually, clearly people don't know who I am. My work is not speaking for itself, so I need to find another way to get myself into the room and to get a bit of respect before I enter the room. And so creating the brand allowed me to walk into boardrooms and to even be called into boardrooms to talk about marketing, to create and present ideas that they would have otherwise not listened to if I had not had my brand. So a brand can be a great key into, you know, unlocking opportunities if you use it correctly. But a brand is not just merely having followers. It's not just merely being known, because that means nothing, you know. Even if you look at some pages, that really big pages, and they'll even interview celebrities, then you look at the views, the video views, and it's like 20 people watched, and you're like, but how? How is it that your page has 100,000 followers and that celebrity has 2 million, but there are only 20 views on the video, you know? And that will show you the strength of somebody's brand. Does this person just have followers because they have followers? Or are these followers real fans, real supporters, people who will buy, who will speak about you, who will be your advocates, who will be your evangelists, you know? And a proper solid brand has evangelists. It has real support. It doesn't just have followers. And that's why a lot of the time on Twitter, you'll see me speaking about the fact that it's not about how many followers you have, but the quality of followers you have that determines your brand value and the strength of your brand. Because at the end of the day, we need to be able to convert those numbers into action. We need to be able to convert those numbers into sales. So if I look at my followers on Instagram, I've got, 5,000 something followers, but I'm telling you now, I can sell 150 books on Instagram. You know, but there are some people who have 200,000 Instagram followers and they can only sell 50 books on Instagram. You know, so whose brand is more valuable for them? You have to ask yourself the question. I've got quality followers for my objectives. Do you have quality followers for your objectives? That will really determine the strength of your brand. And then even in corporate, so a lot of people are entrepreneurs, I'm assuming, who joined our fireside chat. And having a brand for your business is important because it gives your business the reputation that you seek. So when we talk about Apple, for example, a lot of words and attributes come to mind. You think innovation, you think, I don't know, tech, you think the future. There's so many cool things that come to mind when you think about the Apple brand, right? And when you create a brand for your business, it allows people to quickly associate your business with certain attributes. And you want that. And the great thing about creating the brand is you've got the power to control that narrative. So depending on how well you create your brand, you can actually dictate how people see you and what they say about you when you are not there. And that's the power of it, because people buy from people, right? And a brand has to speak to people because people speak to other people. So if you communicate to one person and when they go out of the room and they speak to other people and they say great things, that's going to get people to come to your company, come to your business. But if your brand doesn't have a good reputation or your brand doesn't have good attributes, then when people, hear about your company, they're not going to think good things and they're not going to want to work with you. And so a brand is an asset to a business. It is how you grow in the future. It is how you navigate through tough times, even through COVID. For example, I've had quite a few more clients since COVID started and lockdown has started, because so many people had undermined this value of having a brand. And now they're realizing that, oh gosh, if I had just invested my time in building this brand and building my audience for my company online, then I would be able to still continue selling even though the shops are closed. I'd be able to still continue having conversations with my customers even though the shops are closed. But so many businesses had undermined that by the time that COVID hit and lockdown hit, they literally lost customers. They had to shut down because they had never had the systems in place to address unforeseeable events and things like that. So a brand is a very important thing because it allows you to navigate through so many challenges. It makes your name an asset. It makes it easy for you to just use your name to do things and not to have other things coming with your name for you to be credible, for you to be somebody who can speak and who can do things. Yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. To even extend that, I want to ask for some relief funds since you've been having gigs the entire COVID-19.
Oh, wow. That's funny.
I want to check, since social media is such a place that is saturated and having billions and billions of people, and as someone who has a small company, how do you ensure that you position yourself? But one thing that I kept on picking up from your previous answers is that authenticity is very important when it comes to ensuring that you stand out. But I would like you to elaborate further as to how do you make yourself stand out and make people want to work with you. Whereas social media has many people who are even getting to a point whereby they are pushing advertisers out to ensure that now companies pay influencers, not advertisers. So just tell us, how do you make yourself stand out in such circumstances?
How do you make yourself stand out on social media? That's an excellent question. Social media has over 3 billion active users. That's a lot of people. That means at any point in time, you're competing with 2.9999 billion people, and that's a lot of competition. Like you said, it's a lot of noise. How do you stand out through the noise? I think, first of all, whenever you want to use social media, you have to think about your perspective, right? Perspective is everything. And a lot of people have a very, a greedy perspective when it comes to social media. So they go, I just want to get to 100,000 people. And if I do that, that means I'm succeeding. And it's like, no, perspective is everything. So first of all, what are you trying to achieve by being on social media? Tick that box. Are you trying to achieve sales? Are you trying to achieve brand awareness? Are you trying to achieve customer acquisition? What are you trying to achieve when you go on social media? That's the first thing you have to think about. And then secondly, you have to think about, who is my audience, right? Yes, social media has 3 billion active users, but not all of those people are your audience. Not all of those people are your customers. So why would you waste your time trying to get to all of those people when you only need to reach a niche, a small group of people who are your real customers who are going to buy from you, right? So identify your niche. Who is my niche? Once you've identified your niche, then you have to create comms that actually speak to those people. So I think a lot of people think that social media is like a one-size-fits-all thing where you speak the same way as every other account on social media because it's working for them, it will work for you. No. The only way to stand out on social media is to be, like you said, authentic, which is to be honest and truthful and to be yourself, to be unique, and uniqueness is not something you force. It's just who you are. There are lots of girls who wear weaves and have makeup like me, but they're not Lebo Lion. I'm different to them in my own way. And there are other people who are different to me in their own way. So you have to be able to communicate that value in any way that you can. That's a strength for you. But never ever look at other people's pages and think, oh, just because she dresses up and she has a weave, therefore this is the formula and I'm going to get lots of followers and the right audience because I'm doing the same thing. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that your comms are curated exclusively for your niche, so that the people who actually like your pictures, who actually follow you, are the right kind of people, not just anybody, right? And the copy paste thing, what it does is it actually drowns you out. So if there are already 100,000 girls with weaves and makeup on social media, then you come on and you're another one. I mean, you're making the landscape much harder for yourself because you're looking like every other account. So the key is to make yourself differentiable. It's to make yourself unique. It's to make yourself stand out by not being like other people. And I think a lot of people also seem to think that being unique has to be this like extreme thing, like pink hair, oh, that makes me unique. No. Authenticity, so being honest, being true to what you are about, that makes you unique, because when you are being authentic, you speak like yourself, you sound like yourself, and nobody else can copy how you sound. Nobody else can speak like you. Trust me, people have tried. I mean, there's so many people who've even tried to steal my tweets and write it as their own, and it doesn't work. It's crazy, because I'm like, okay, but you're stealing it, so this should work, but it doesn't work. Like, I'm always shocked at how much it just doesn't work for them, because I don't mind. I'm like, okay, you steal it, do you, boo-boo? And then I'll see it on their pages and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't click, so you can never copy somebody else. You can never steal someone's identity. It never ever works. So the best way to stand out on social media is to be yourself, if you're a personal brand, and if you're a company or business, to be very intentional in how you exist online. So, for example, if you sell fried chicken, right? And you sell fried chicken to people in the township, and you guys like to say, it's lekker every time you sell the chicken. I know that sounds lame, but it's what I just thought of now. Then your authenticity online would be, every time you post a picture of fried chicken, you say, it's lekker. Just doing that, just being consistent in that, makes you authentic to your audience, and they know what to expect. So every time they log on and they see a picture of fried chicken, they're going to expect it's lekker as the caption, and that's enough for you to be a brand online. It's enough for you to win your audience's heart. It's enough for you to get them to trust you, because you're consistent. And remember, when you're a business, you're not necessarily a person. So the more human-like you can be, the better. And funnily enough, for a business to be human-like, it has to be consistent and repetitive. So if you're a business and you say you do XYZ, you must say you do XYZ all the time. And if you say it's lekker, you must say it all the time, because then it makes you seem authentic and like a human being to people, which is crazy, but it's just the psychology of the human mind. That's how people perceive brands. So the more repetitive and intentional you are, the better you can position yourself to secure the audience that will actually do something for you, that can actually help you achieve your objectives, that will actually heed your call of action.
So what I keep picking up right now from what you're saying is that, yeah, authenticity is very important. And with authenticity, you should be able to select your niche and clean the clutter, and rather be left with 5 people than 50. Okay, no, I've forgotten the third one, but I thought I was mentally taking some notes. But now, when it comes to marketing for these companies, would you say that social media, would you advise all companies to use social media marketing? And if not, how do we make social media marketing as effective as possible for all companies, regardless of the industries that they operate in? And I think this question of mine is a bit longer. And when it comes to choosing marketing tools, how important is it for small businesses to appoint a marketing manager, considering the financial constraints that they would be navigating around when it comes to things such as cost cutting when you're using social media and cost. I don't know what, but it's costly to use a marketing manager. So can you just try to speak into that?
Okay, so I definitely think that every single business you can think of should have some kind of social media profile presence. And I think a lot of the time when people think about social media, they're thinking Facebook and Instagram, or Twitter, but there's so many different social media technologies out there. We've seen the rise of TikTok since COVID-19 and lockdown started. And then we also see LinkedIn. LinkedIn is huge for corporates. And a lot of people, because LinkedIn is so serious and formal, people don't even realize that it is a social media. It's a social media. Any company that has a LinkedIn profile has a social media profile. So it doesn't mean that just because you're a business, you can't have a social media profile or social media presence. It just means you have to be very strategic in which profiles or platforms you choose and how you use them. I always say to people that social media is what you make it. You don't want to be ruled by social media. You want to rule your own social media. And the only way you can do that is by being very intentional in how you use it and knowing exactly what you're using it for. A lot of people open accounts, but they don't know why. And a lot of people use social media, but they don't even understand what they're using it for. So if you're going to bring it into a business perspective, they should be completely intentional about how they use their social media and know why and how it can help them achieve their objectives, So like I said, talking about things like LinkedIn, for example, Twitter is such a great tool for so many brands, and they completely undermine it. Because they're not hiring good copywriters. They're not hiring people who are good with mechanisms like Twitter that require more of a mental, the intellectual output than a lot of these other social media profiles. And I'm sorry if I'm offending people. I don't mean that you're stupid if you use Instagram or anything. I just mean that because Twitter is so text heavy, it requires somebody who, is good at writing, is good at reading, is good at disseminating information and making it easy to consume very quickly. So you have to be quite smart to be able to do that, But we see brands like, for instance, Nando's. I mean, their Twitter account is on fire. The way they manage that thing is crazy. I think they even get more sales because of how they speak on Twitter, and they've really created a stronger South African presence because of how they manage their Twitter account. And so a lot of the time, business people think that social media is a vanity thing. I was listening to a very popular South African businessman talking to another South African entrepreneur, and they were saying, social media is just a vanity thing. Right now it's locked down. So, we're not going to worry about social media. We're going to worry about the real business. And I sat there and I was like, but guys, if let's say you sell shoes, right? And COVID hits you, lockdown hits you. What are you going to do? Because now your people can't go in to make your shoes. Your staff is not going in to do anything. So what are you going to do as the owner of that shoe brand? Surely, right? What you want to do is to remind people that your brand exists. What you want to do is to maybe think about cool sales strategies that you can use now to secure some sales for the future. So, for example, you can actually post pre-orders and give people discounts now during lockdown and say that when you order from us, you will get your orders as soon as lockdown regulations allow it. So thank you for buying now. We're going to give you a 20% discount. So it makes it allows you to keep continuing. It allows your business to keep existing, and it allows you to build a relationship with your customers even when you have restrictions like lockdown and COVID. And you cannot do that with any other tool. You cannot do that with any other traditional tool. You have to use digital tools. You have to use social media in order to make those things happen. So I was very disappointed and surprised that they said these things are vanity tools, but the only reason why their brands are still relevant is because they're doing IG lives. It's because they're doing webinars. It's because they can consult with their clients online. It's because their brands are still posting pictures now because they have online platforms. So for me, it's like, if you don't have a social media platform, asset for your business, you're basically setting yourself up to fail, because technology is the only thing I can think of right now that is equipping us to navigate through problems of the future. And that's very important because you cannot determine what the future is going to hold for you. You cannot determine the problems in the future. But what you can do is understand that any tool, any new tool you get now is a tool that helps you navigate through problems in the future that you know nothing about. So for me as a business, you need to acquaint yourself with all the new tools that you see out there in the market, so that one day if you have to use them, you understand exactly how to use them and you know how they can work for your business. And we've also seen a lot of businesses are literally like changing their models. And if you look in Europe and that kind of thing, people are literally, they're having meetings on LinkedIn group chats instead of actually having meetings in the office. There's what?
So I was saying in WhatsApp as well has gotten such video conferencing facility as well.
Exactly. WhatsApp has got video conferencing, things like that. I mean, companies are continuously looking for ways to cut costs, right? And what better way to cut a cost than to use social media? And I mean, if I have to give you just a very basic example, for example. So you've got offices, you've got staff. They come to your offices. You've got 100 staff that come to your office every single day. You pay rent for that. That staff has to use their cars. They use petrol. They get to the office. They must be dressed to be at the office. They want to eat. There's electricity that you use. So much happens for people to be in an office, right? But if you change that up and you save costs and you say, you know what, 60% of our workforce does not need to be in the office. We can do all of our work with them online through WhatsApp video calls, through Zoom, through whatever that we choose to use that's a technology, and we'll still achieve the same objectives. It means that you're actually cutting the cost of having people come to a physical venue. So you're actually cutting all your business costs, you're cutting them down, because the cost of getting someone to the office has been reduced because you don't have so many people going to the office, just small little things like that. I mean, using technologies, and social media is a technology, is also really good for the environment, because you're not there printing papers for meetings and people are there looking, all these crazy little things. There's no pollution because people don't have to drive their cars to the office. Just small little things like that. And that's what I mean by marketers are efficiency doctors, because every time you choose not to work with a marketer, you're choosing to incur another cost, right? So for me, it is, are you going to make some money to have a marketer work on your team so that you can actually minimize some costs and have creative solutions, get more sales and get more customers? Or are you going to hire a lot of lawyers and accountants and HR people, and then when you face times of difficulty, all they can do is say to you, okay, well, the government is releasing this many funds and this is what you can get. Okay, the law says that, you can shut down your company in this many phases, and that's all that lawyers and accountants can really do for you, honestly, for being honest. They're very retrospective. They can just show you this is the risk you have and this is how you can manage it with the tools that you have. But marketers can say, this is the risk that you're facing, and these are the innovative ways that you can go about it so that you don't have to shut down your business, or so that you don't have to shut down your entire business and you can keep 60% of your business, or so that you can actually extend your product line and have more sales from things that you weren't doing, but you had the resources to do, So I think for me, that's the question you always ask yourself. Do you want a marketer? Are you willing to make the cost to keep a marketer, or are you willing to pay all these people who won't be able to help you weather through difficulties creatively and innovatively?
Oh, I'm happy that you started talking about that marketing element right now, because I'm heading towards our last question, and we have kind of exhausted the time limit that we have, because at some point our Q&A was blowing up. So I think we are just going to give a few people for the Q&A. And then for now, I just want you to talk a little bit into the SMMEs. Just talk about the challenges you have faced when working with SMMEs, and what marketing mistakes have you seen them making? And seeing that most of us right now here, most of us are small business people, so I think we all fall under SMMEs. What few jewels of knowledge would you just give to us when it comes to marketing strategy and avoiding the pitfalls that most SMMEs face?
So, with SMMEs, that's a tricky question. And the reason why I'm saying it's a tricky question is because SMMEs, man, they disappoint me and they inspire me all at one time. It's so frustrating for me. I think people fall into the name small business too much, you know. Just because you're categorized or called a small business doesn't mean you have to have a small mindset. And I think a lot of the time small businesses tend to have small mindsets. Small businesses are incredible things because they don't have all the complexities that big businesses have. So by virtue of being small businesses should be able to weather difficulties much easier than a lot of businesses. They should be able to make creative decisions very quickly. They should be able to change and evolve faster than big businesses because they don't have all of those, you know, the chain of command that they need to go through to make decisions. I think a lot of the time what small businesses do, unfortunately, is they mimic big business. But you're not a big business, and that's your value, that's your strength. And I wish more small businesses would have a big mindset and understand that because they are small, they can do so much more and they can move so much faster if they just changed how they saw things and the value that they place on certain aspects of their businesses. And I've also seen that I call myself an SMME growth strategist because when I used to call myself a marketer and approach these businesses, they didn't understand what I did, you know. And now that I say SMME growth strategist, they're like, oh, okay, so you help us grow. Yes, I help you grow. That's what marketers should be doing for an SMME. They should be helping you grow. So a marketer's job in an SMME would be me helping you identify your customers, me helping you create strategies that allow you to penetrate the market, me helping you identify investors, me helping you grow, me, you know, things like that. That's what marketers would be able to help you do when you're a small business because of the size of your business and the requirements that you have. So even as a marketer, I should be able to say to you, okay, you make ice cream. How can I help you sell 10 more tubs but use less ingredients? Or, you know, that kind of thing. That's what marketers are supposed to help you do if you have an SMME. So I think small business owners should be educating themselves about what marketers are. And I think that they need to open their minds to the possibilities that are, or opportunities that are in front of them if they do work with marketers. And the challenges that we face as marketers a lot of the time is that small businesses are scared. And rightfully so. You know, you put everything that you have into this business. You're not sure if it's going to succeed. So you're scared. You're scared to compete. But the problem is being scared to compete is what's going to make you shut down in the first place. And I wish that more small businesses had the courage to take on those courageous decisions, to have strategies that are a little bit ballsy and that might work or might not work. You know, I think that there isn't enough risk taking in the SMME space. And so you're also finding that people are offering very standard products, very standard everything. And so it's very hard for the corporate market and for, you know, really high ticket customers to take small businesses very serious because they're just like, oh, but, you know, something's missing here. There's no courage. I don't feel like if I work with this business, I've got a really strong team behind me. I feel like I've got a small business. And nobody wants to feel like the person they're working with or the company they're working with is unable to do certain things. So I wish more small... Yeah, exactly. So I wish more small businesses would present themselves to the market as if they were a big business, with the courage of a big business, with the balls of a big business, you know, and also just being risk takers. I think that would be important because the more risks you take, the more likely you are to succeed. And even if you fail, then you understand that, okay, I failed because maybe my business wasn't actually a good business, and you're failing faster, so you get to move faster and succeed faster. But if you're just moving there and you're moving slowly and you're very scared, then you're wasting your own time and you're most likely going to fail. And in terms of marketing tools, I think too many small businesses that I've seen don't have social media platforms. And those who do tend to outsource the skills to like their children, or like the neighbor's son, or something like that. Like they think that social media is just something that young people know how to do. And if you just ask some young person somewhere, they'll be able to do your social media profiles, assets, and that's not true. So I wish that small businesses would take social media more seriously, and that they'd invest more money into it. You know, nobody thinks twice when they think about printing flyers, for example. Nobody thinks twice when they think about printing banners, but all of a sudden, when they have to pay for social media advertising, it's a problem. And I always say to people, but who reads a flyer in 2020? if I'm being honest. Unless your market is like in a rural town and, you know, it's not very tech centric, then maybe your flyers will work because people don't have the tools to be online or to watch TV or whatever. But like, who really reads a flyer? Like, nobody. So why are you putting all your money into flyers when you can be putting your money into Facebook advertising? Why are you putting your money into business cards? I really hate business cards, and I know that people love them. It's a great tool, but I really hate them. I'd rather spend more money on a LinkedIn profile, getting a premium LinkedIn profile, than I would on a business card, because you can generate more leads. You can build relationships with the business card. You don't know. I can give you my business card today and you can never call me. You can lose it on your way to the car, but you can never lose the connection I make with you online if we are following each other. So that means that I have a guaranteed relationship with somebody that I would have never had if I wasn't using digital tools. So for me, it's, yeah, you're welcome to cut if you want to.
Okay, no. But I was looking at our time right now that it's slowly running out on us. But from what I've been picking up from what you're saying is you are betting a lot on courage and bravery when it comes to small businesses. But as a concerned person right now, I want to know, where do you get to draw the line between courage and competence? Because I think that's another challenge that we're battling with as a country. People have a lot of courage and they are brave, but they can't deliver it or meet their courage or bravery. And before you even get to that question, there's a very sad question that makes me laugh on our chat. This person is asking, how did you deal with working voluntarily, like getting unpaid gigs? Because the person has been getting a lot of gigs that people are sort of asking him to volunteer most of the time.
Hey.
So he's just asking, how did you deal with that?
Sorry, I'm laughing at my own joke. Okay, so what was the first question? The first question was courage versus competency.
Yeah, where do you draw the line?
Right? Yeah.
Where
do you draw the line? That's actually a really profound question, and I never thought about it, because in my mind, you know, if you have courage, you should be competent enough to see your strategy through. So you should never go into a space and say, I can do this, if you can't do it. You know, that doesn't make any sense. So by courage and bravery, I mean, if you know you are good at something, then be big about it. Talk about it. Tell people that you are the best at doing this thing, if you know you can, but don't lie. Be authentic. So tell the truth. If you know, I am the voice of marketing, I can talk about marketing until the cows come home. I can talk about marketing for a million years. Ask me any question, and I mean that. So I'm happy for anyone to take me on that, because I mean it and I know I can back it up. So I think, you know, your bravery and your courage should come with an understanding of your abilities, and always be brave about the things that you can do. And I found that small businesses tend to be shy about what they can do. You know, they tend to be like, oh, you know, we can do this, but because we're not PwC, then, you know, oh, we'll give you a discount because we're not that good. You know, we're good, but we're not PwC, you know. So it's like, just be brave, be confident. What you're glazing about it when you enter the market. And then in terms of the second question, what, doing gigs for free, how long should you do gigs for free? Is that the question?
Yeah, the person was saying that how did you handle doing gigs for free? Because he's been in the business for a while, but now a lot of people are expecting him to do gigs for free. It's a challenge. Okay, it's the network.
I mean, I think I've done videos on that. I've tweeted about it, but you know, right? Even if somebody likes what you do, so let's say you're a photographer and you want people in your neighborhood to know that you're good at photography. So you go to a bakery and you're like, guys, I'll do your pictures for free. You know, I just want you to see my work. And then they love your work and they use your pictures, and then they go tell their friend. And then the friend will be like, but you did it for my friend for free. So why are you charging me? You know, once you start to do things for free, you set a premise that anyone who approaches you it's okay for them to want the thing for free, right? And I always say to people, especially when it relates to, let's say, building a social media asset, for example, money goes where attention goes. So people will always find the money to pay for the things that people like, that people are interested in. So by virtue of me, for example, building a Lebo brand, I'm attracting attention so that money can come to me. But there's no point in my journey where I feel like I need to do things for free to get people to see me. Because once I start to do things for free for people to see me, they're only going to see me when I do things for free. And that's going to be the premise of our relationship, and it's never going to change, which means that when I want them to pay for something, I need to offer something else that they pay for, because the first thing that they got from me was free, and they're always going to expect that thing for free. So now I must offer something else that isn't for free, that I can tie into our conversation once they've taken the other free thing from me. So I've learned painfully as an entrepreneur that you shouldn't offer anything for free. Even if you offer a discount, it's better than offering things for free, because you always want the conversation about money to be attached with your business and whatever you're offering. When you talk to somebody, they must always know that this thing is valuable, so there is a monetary value attached to it. And if you do decide to give them a discount, because honestly, if you're working in your community, for example, like the bakery is owned by somebody that you know, you're not going to charge them the full price, even if you want to. Like, it's just not going to happen, because they're also taking a risk by, you know, seeing what your skills are. So the best you guys can do is have a discount type of relationship and say, you know what, I want to work with you because I want to build my portfolio. So because you are helping me build my portfolio, I'm going to charge you 50% of what I would normally charge. But if you do refer me to your clients, please tell them my full prices, you know, but never ever make it a conversation where things are for free. Because when something is for free, it will always be for free. People will always expect it for free. And when you add any monetary value to that thing, they're going to think it's expensive. They're going to think that it's too much. So if you're a small business or a freelancer or whatever, always add a monetary value to whatever you offer, if it has one, and if you want people to pay for it. Otherwise, it's going to be very tricky for you to start getting paid for it in the future.
Lebo, thank you very much for being with us today and gracing us with your presence and giving us the crash course that you just given us right now, because we had a lot to learn from you today. I don't know if you have any last words to say before we conclude the fireside chat.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. It's been so much fun. I spoke a lot, and my cheekbones even feel like they were working out because I was talking so much. But I had so much fun, and thank you for having me. And yeah, man, I just want to urge people to have the courage to be themselves and to chase their dreams. I know it sounds like, you know, I'm just talking about things that aren't realistic, but it's real. I'm only 29 now, and I've done so much with my life, and it was only because I believed in myself. If you have to ask my family and friends, doors keep getting closed in my face. You know, ever since I can remember, it's always been doors getting closed in my face. It's always been, you know, crazy obstacles that I'd be like, what's wrong with me that people don't want to work with me? Or what's wrong with me that my business is not going the way that I want it to go? But somehow, just because I believed in myself and I keep going even when things are hard, things unfold, you know. So guys, don't give up on yourselves just because everyone around you wants to. If you really believe in yourself and you know that what you're offering means something, keep fighting for it, no matter how you have to do it. Just keep going, never ever give up. I think that's what I'd like to leave everybody with.
Thank you very much, Lebo, for those words. And again, to just piggyback on what you just said about courage, I also want to just add that it's very important for this courage issue, because I've seen a rise of courage and bravery among many SMME owners, but very little competence. So it should be emphasized to people that even though they should be courage, people should just invest a lot of time behind their craft and their businesses so that they don't provide mediocre work. So with those words, I'd like to tell everyone who's attended here that we have such sessions every last Wednesday of the month. So in June, since June is a very tricky month that ends on a Tuesday, I think we might have our fireside chat with a surprise guest on the 24th of June. But a further date will be announced on social media. Thank you very much, Lebo, and thank you very much to the people who are attending this call today.
Hi, thank you, everyone.